They Fall is a brand new Western that is now streaming on Netflix and also is playing in select and limited theaters depending on where you live and where you stay. This film was directed by Jesse Samuel, I'm pretty sure that's his name. This cast is insane. It stars Lakeith Stanfield, Jonathan Majors, Delroy Lindo, Regina King, Zazie Beetz, Idris Elba, CJ Siler, or his name might not be CJ, but I remember Siler because he played the Blue Ranger on Power Rangers. I'm not entirely sure why that's the only movie I associate with him, but he's in this movie. This is sort of based on a true life story, but not really. See, all of the characters in this movie are actually real life people that actually existed, but the story that they've been thrown into is obviously complete fiction, and probably none of this happened, or at least it didn't happen the way that it's depicted in this movie. So Jonathan Majors plays Nat Love. He is the leader of the Nat Love gang, and when he finds out that a bitter old rival played by Idris Elba is Rufus Buck, and he's the leader of the Rufus Buck gang, when Nat Love finds out that he is escaping from prison, he decides to rally up his posse to try to take out that posse, you know, for revenge and because they're rivals and stuff like that. And you might be asking, well, what's the revenge about? Well, gotta watch the movie for that. I'm not gonna give away everything in the synopsis for this movie. And it goes without saying that Westerns are a dying breed in the landscape of big blockbusters and, you know, all these other sequels and reboots and the world of Hollywood as it is today. Westerns used to be like one of the most popular genres in film. Nowadays, you might get a couple of gems scattered here or there throughout the years. For the most part, you're not seeing a lot of Westerns, and the ones that you do see are not good enough or memorable enough to really stick in the public conscience after they're gone. And I gotta just say, as a black person, it was just so gratifying to see a movie done like this. 95 or 98% black Western, like there's a couple of white people scattered around this movie, but for the most part, it's an all black Western. But to see a movie where black people just get to exist in the space that was created for the film is really gratifying for me. I mean, finally we get a movie where black people are not being made to suffer, and there's not like a heavy focus on trauma porn, and you know, black people are not being pushed into these stereotypes and these cliches. They get to simply exist in the space that was given to them by this movie. They can either be a hero or a villain or an outlaw or a vigilante, depending on what the story needs. The cast here all absolutely crush it. There is charisma oozing out of every single one of these characters in this movie. Probably my standout for the entire cast is Regina King. Regina King is doing something really interesting with her accent in this movie, and she's playing a villainess. She definitely seemed like she was having a lot of fun in this role. The movie is incredibly well directed. There are some excellent shots, not only like great Western shots or whatever that you've seen in a lot of other Westerns over the years. There's enough stylistic flair to the camera work and to the editing in this film that definitely will remind you of how modern day films are cut. So it's always great to see the blending of the old and new, and this applies to the soundtrack as well. The soundtrack for this movie actually slaps. Like, there's just so many great options that are buzzing through your ear as you're watching this movie. If you can't give Jay-Z credit for anything else in this movie, you can give him credit for helping to put together this soundtrack, because this soundtrack is eggs on a tit. It is really, really good. This movie's actually also pretty violent. It's pretty bloody. It doesn't necessarily get to Quentin Tarantino levels of blood and gore and guts and all that stuff, but definitely you're not really into like blood flying everywhere during shootouts, well, this movie's probably gonna irritate you on some level. I feel like most people are gonna walk away enjoying The Harder They Fall. I actually think it was a really good movie, well done, and one of the better modern day Westerns that I've seen in a while, actually. Where this movie falters is definitely some of the plot machinations. There's definitely some elements of the plot that are poorly developed and not given a chance to breathe and really get fleshed out the way that they should have in a movie like this. Some elements of the plot are just not very well explained, and there are some questions that you'll have throughout as it relates to these two gangs and the story that is tying them together. Some of it you understand, and some of it is kind of like, I could have used a little bit more when it came to really developing this story. There's nothing really special or new or amazing about the story here. It's a revenge tale and a rival tale that you've seen done 100 times over in other movies. I will say they did try to do something to add a little bit more emotion to this one, especially by the end of the film. It focuses really on the more important members, and then there are other members of the ensemble that are gonna get the short end of the stick. That's just the way it works sometimes. In an ensemble, you sometimes don't have enough time to give everybody their due. Some pacing issues that pop up throughout the film, especially during the second and right before the third acts. There's some slow moments, some uneventful storytelling that is going on. There is an issue that I have with the film that has absolutely nothing to do with the movie itself. It's something that bothers me about one of the casting choices. And I don't think it ruins the movie or anything, but it is something that just irritated me about the movie while I was watching it. And I can't tell you what it is because it feels like a spoiler. And I also don't want to turn it into a big thing in this video. The Harder They Fall is actually a pretty dope-ass black Western that is well made, and I hope everybody gets a chance to either see it on Netflix or see it in a theater near you. The Harder They Fall was pretty fun, pretty entertaining stuff. I'm gonna leave this one in the Silver Age for Man of Steel. What is your favorite Western of all time, or at least a movie that reminds you of a Western? You can put that in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.